You know, I have to say, this War Tycoon year did have its ups and downs. Some updates were done really well, however, some other ones were executed really poorly, and a lot of people simply did not enjoy them. And in this video, guys, I will be reviewing all of the updates that actually happened this year and tell you guys, do I think that War Tycoon is actually going down in the right direction? And we are currently near the end of quarter 3, and I will be splitting this video in exactly 3 parts: quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3, which you guys can currently see on the screen right now. And another question which I'll also be answering is something that people always talk about a lot: is the overall quality of the game going down, or is War Tycoon just monetizing the game a little bit more than what they were doing before? So anyway, starting with quarter 1, I'm gonna be slowly moving down the devlog page for the sake of this video. So firstly, we slowly started the year with a Q&A. Then what they have added is the F117 Nighthawk update, which this was actually a very good update. People received it quite well because it gave us a new feature with laser guided bombs. However, this year did actually start off pretty slow because the overall quantity of updates was actually way lower than what we had before, and this might be the least updates we have ever received in War Tycoon for a very long time. However, then the Nighthawk update has came out on the 11th, and after this we have had a little bit of a break at around 2 weeks, and then the Just 39 Gripen simply got announced, which was also a good vehicle which people actually looked forward to because it did have the fire and forget missiles, which was a brand new mechanic and a brand new type of missile. With this, they also added in the Barracuda boat to replace a lot of our previous boats, and with this, the Gripen update has basically came out. Well, after that, we have had a long time which we waited for another update. Gizmotech has been very quiet on us for exactly, I believe, 15 days, and then with this, we have received information about the Warlab update. The simple reason why War Tycoon was actually very slow with their updates is because they were working on their backend, which was recently announced. And then with this, they have also changed the trading hub, gave us a new art style, added the dark style, which some people ended up not liking. However, overall, this update has actually went well. I have to say, majority of people did actually enjoy it, especially after some balancing changes which were also done in this update. Overall, this update did have some issues, however, it was actually taken in pretty well. And now the last update, which ended off quarter 1, were the A129 Mangusta update, which basically added ship parts and added a brand new helicopter, which this helicopter until this day is probably one of the most hated vehicles in War Tycoon. And then with this, what they have also added is, I guess, a leak for a brand new update, which this was just simply the Tankocopter update, which was actually received pretty well. However, as that happened, we have went into quarter 2 of this year, and I have to say this update was not taken in very well. The F-15E Strike Eagle was not liked by a lot of people because this vehicle was battered off of the start straight away. The skin was not correct, I mean the texturing was not correct, they have done a pretty poor job on this plane, and the balancing of it was also not very great. However, after this, they somewhat tried to redeem themselves by adding the AA-12 shotgun, which was a weapon which a lot of people have actually requested and wanted to have. With this, we have also gotten the information about the vehicle variants coming into War Tycoon, which was incredibly exciting. With this, they also announced the Mi-24 Super Hind, which was also super exciting because people did love the Mi-24 Hind. A lot of people really wanted this to be added in the game, and I thought that this was going to be a free-to-play vehicle. And then with this, we also received a bonus vehicle, which was meant to be a ship counter, which was the J-36. It came in pretty late because the Zumwalt update happened 4 months ago. And as this update came in, it has actually received a lot of hate because, surprisingly enough, the Mi-24 Super Hind was actually for Robux, and nothing was actually announced about it being for Robux, so people were obviously extremely dissatisfied. They already didn't enjoy the idea of limited vehicles, but in the first variant which they added, which was literally a paid vehicle, it was really not well received. I have to say, I did not enjoy that too much myself either. But anyway, after this has happened, they have added a brand new update, which gave us a free variant, which was the T-72 Moderna, which is still loved until this day. A lot of people still liked it, and I have to say, this was a good update, and War Tycoon was redeeming themselves after the previous one. With this, they have also taken some steps of giving us a community poll, where we got to vote for the updates which we want. And we also received the active protection system, we received a ton of balance changes which people requested. Things were really looking up for War Tycoon. But then with this, War Tycoon has felt a need to replace the Boxer CRV, which was a really good idea since a lot of people have requested for that to happen. However, it was replaced with the wrong vehicle. It was done by the Type 625E. However, Gizmotech quickly understood his mistakes and cancelled this update and decided to not actually replace the Boxer with the Type 625E, but instead just look for something different in the near future, which was actually announced in here. I really do appreciate this, and developers were truly listening. Then with this, they have followed up with the Challenger 2 update and APS, which was once again a very great update which people actually seem to enjoy. Now, after this update, what we have had is a little bit of quiet. However, we have received the E100 update and the M35 gun truck has also returned to the game, which once again was a good thing for War Tycoon. A lot of people did want this to happen, and they pretty much got what they wanted. Even though these vehicles were limited, that was not liked very much. However, for the most part, people really did enjoy this update. And now as we are coming down to the end of quarter 2, the updates that we have received have been a little bit more interesting. They have added in the heavily requested USS Independence, which was a great vehicle to add. It was a one vehicle update, however, the USS Independence was incredibly high quality and a lot of people just enjoyed it in general. However, the only issue they had is that it was actually better than the Zumwalt. But anyway, what they have added next has to be one of the most questionable updates in War Tycoon, and that was adding the F-117 and Seahawk, which literally functions like a fighter jet, even though that's not what it was meant for in real life. With this, they have also added the Tusk, which was actually really well received. Unfortunately enough, this update has just been not looking too good for the devs, just because of the addition of the Seahawk. If they have just added the M1 Abrams, people wouldn't mind at all, but the Seahawk itself, it was just done the wrong way. However, after this, what has happened is War Tycoon has added in the vehicle airdrops, which was once again a very heavily requested update, which people really enjoyed. And they followed up with that with another good update, which added in the ASV and the Bradley linebacker, which was once again a very heavily requested update. Now, after this, they have also added in hovercrafts, which was a little bit more questionable, because in real life, we don't really have too many hovercrafts, and they're mainly used for transport reasons. However, the developers have gave them a bit of a combat way to actually use them, which in my opinion was actually executed pretty well. However, there were always some questions to be asked at the start of this update. However, what they have followed this update up with were the rocket artillery aiming improvement, which was also a great change. Once again, heavily requested, and Gizmotech was really listening to the community here. However, at the end of quarter 2, which is where things started to look up not very well for the game, because they gave us a free variant of the Sherman Calliope, which was not executed correctly. However, the TOS Buratino, just like the previous vehicle, was also not executed correctly. These seemed like an update which the developers were not really doing well on, and it felt like they were really running out of time and like they were trying to speed rush every single update, and we could definitely see that by the downgrade of the quality. So once that update came out, Gizmotech has felt the need to fix their mistakes, and then with this they have decided to add in a quality of life changes update, which also gave us a brand new spin rework, while also changing a few things which we didn't like previously, which was actually taken in really well since people have waited for the spin rework for a very long time. And now at the beginning of quarter 3, War Tycoon has added in the C4 update, which also had the AV-Hate Reaper. This vehicle was extremely questionable because people felt like it was a collab with Elon Musk in a sense. After the recent drama, it really felt like the timing was kind of off for this update to come out, but maybe it was just done for marketing's sake, which was honestly pretty smart from Gizmotech. However, this update was kind of meh, considering the AV-Hate Reaper isn't very realistic and we do not have hovercrafts like this in real life. Anyway, what they have followed up with is a great update. They have actually announced that the new map was going to be coming in very soon, or kind of leaked it in a sense. However, with this, they have also announced the EA-18 Growler, which was looking up because the developers have done a previously good job on a lot of vehicles with new features. However, the EA-18 Growler with its electronic warfare was not executed very well because people expected it to actually work in a way that defends your faction members rather than only keeping you safe and having infinite stealth. However, the Apache Longbow has to be one of the more balanced limiteds which they have added in the game, which were premium. However, it did still have its issue and it did give a lot of tank players a little bit of a hell. But anyway, after that, what we have received is the limiteds update, and the new map has also gotten leaked, which was really good because the people have been really looking up for a different map for a little bit, because we have already been on a single map for over several months. So some people really saw a good need to actually add in something different, and this update did somewhat deliver as it was added. With this, they have also returned the T-72 Moderna. However, what actually did make the new map update a little bit worse was the addition of the HACV Overlord Hovercraft Game Pass. They gave us a good thing to be excited about with some brand new weapons. However, with this, of course, they had to add a Game Pass. However, after this, Gizmotech has also felt like he's gonna become a streamer, which I think actually was very great. I did appreciate the fact that he's actually streaming and connecting with the community a lot more. However, as the new update dropped, they have returned the task, did a sales and bug fixes update, and things were looking quiet at the start of quarter 3. However, with this, they have continued to give us another limited vehicles, which were the BMD 4M and also the BTR 80 Cliver. Those were actually really well received, even though the BMD was paid, and that's the standard premiums which we were going to be having every single month. It was actually taken in decently well because of how well balanced this vehicle was, and same with the Cliver. The Cliver was also done extremely good. However, after this, we have also received another change, and that was the Dassault Rafale, which was added, which was a great update, to be honest. I really did enjoy this vehicle being added in in the game. It has been requested. However, something a little bit more controversial is the tasks have been updated in a sense, and now they basically have a completely new approach to them. Basically, the better vehicles or the more famous vehicles now have a specific star system, which basically tells you guys that you shouldn't be getting them first. You should be getting the things which are 1 star, which are of course going to be the easier challenges, which I think was a very interesting strategy. However, with this, what they have added in next was one of the most requested updates in War Tycoon's history, the submarines, and this update was done well. However, there were some issues with it, such as the Los Angeles class submarine being extremely unbalanced. However, this update over time has become a little bit more accepted, but we are still waiting for a proper submarine counter update, which we have not received for a little bit of time. And now going up to the most recent update, which added in the Independence X, but also giving us the T90 in Breakthrough. The T90 was done really well. However, the Independence X has felt like the most pay-to-win update, or the most, I have to say, this was the weirdest update they have ever released in this game, because you would expect a railgun warship in this game. I definitely did not see this coming, and I was actually kind of disappointed when this was added. However, I did not really give my opinions out because I didn't really feel like I want to get myself involved in the drama. However, after this, they have also added another update, which was more like a quality of life update, which added new playtime rewards, which was heavily requested. With this, they have also added the KS1, which this update was actually executed pretty decently. However, now we are up to the latest stage of War Tycoon. What is going to be happening next is the big question. Do you guys think that War Tycoon is going to be continuing to do the Independence X updates, or are they going to continue with the better updates which we have had in the previous month, which was of course the submarines? Well, my personal guess, which I'm going to be taking over here, is since this update has happened around the September, which September is the worst month in terms of marketing and overall earning for all the games, I feel like the developers needed to quickly get in some extra money to sustain some development for the game, while the player base was not very high on really any other Roblox game. I feel like this was a little bit of an attempt to see how this kind of update would do, and it seems like people did not enjoy it, but I think the developers have got some benefits from it, such as a lot of money, so hopefully we won't be having any more paid updates for the time being. But yeah, this is pretty much what I think about the story of War Tycoon and how things are going to be going in the future. I personally believe that this game is definitely going to be looking up, and things are definitely going to be going well over Q4 and the Christmas stage. That's where the updates are always the best for pretty much every single Roblox game. Anyway guys, do let me know in the comment section down below if you'd like me to do more videos like this. I personally really enjoyed going over the story of War Tycoon, and is War Tycoon actually going in the right direction or not? I think I should do more videos like this. Maybe I could make them a little more edited, but do let me know whatever ideas you got for videos. Anyway, see you guys next video. Have a great day, and thank you so much to all my channel members.